Welcome back to Ballboy Media. I'm LJ, and today we are going to be talking about the 2025 NBA trade deadline. If you're new here, please leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And comment down below what your favorite trade from this year's deadline was. This is going to be one of my final videos on the trade deadline. I have, given it everything it's worth. It has been a phenomenal series of trades and events going on in the past few weeks, and I've been grateful to really cover it all. So let's get right into it. The first winner that I have is the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors really only made one deal, and that was to add Jimmy Butler, which I think helps the team in a myriad of departments. They gave up Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Lindy Waters, and Dennis Schroeder in this deal to bring back Jimmy Butler. I think that Jimmy, so far he's been great, and they're 2-0 since the acquisition of Butler. His shot hasn't really fallen at the level it was prior this season with the Heat, but he's really been good at getting to the line, and this is something that the Warriors have had trouble with in the past because they're such a three-point centric team. They don't generate the most free throws. I've heard talk about Steph having a bad whistle, and I actually agree. I think that he doesn't get quite the respect, quite the superstar whistle that some other players get in the NBA, and I think, Jimmy already, 10.5, so that would be 21 free throw attempts in the 2 games he's played with the Warriors. This is a guy that's really going to get to his spots and get his free throw attempts. Steph is also heating up, and I think that the Jimmy Butler acquisition is huge because it's just another bona fide star that he can play off of. I think that Jimmy Butler is only a star when he wants to be, and he definitely, as of right now, wants to be a star with the Golden State Warriors. Steph is heating up, and he's put 4 straight 30-point per game games on the board. He's averaging 35 points over his last 4. Steph is all the way back, and I know a lot of people questioned why he was an all-star starter this year. I think he's definitely deserving of that all-star spot regardless, but he, had a rough stretch recently, and he's been shooting a lot, and now I think Jimmy kind of eases that a little bit as a real bona fide second star. The most important thing I think is this really frees up some minutes for younger players. Obviously, Jimmy is taking the Andrew Wiggins role. We know that those two play a very similar brand of basketball in terms of the shots they're going to be taking, their role on the court overall, stuff like that. But to also get rid of Kyle Anderson, who really, had times where he wouldn't be playing because the Warriors are a deep team. He wouldn't be getting minutes, and I think he is a valuable player still. Lindy Waters was also playing big minutes for this Warriors team on several occasions. I think that, this Jimmy Butler deal really opens up spots for guys like Moses Moody, who they re-signed this past summer, as well as Jonathan Kuminga, who is due for an extension this summer. I wasn't certain on the Warriors, but now I think they're definitely in the mix for a playoff spot. They're, kind of around that 10 seed right now. If they can get up to that 6 seed, ideally that's what you want, and I think they actually can. They've been playing great. Shout out Quinton Post, he's been putting in work. Big stretch big next to Steph. This team is clicking, and they're clicking at the right time. Granted, it has been a small sample size, but I really like what I'm seeing so far out of Jimmy Butler with the Warriors. Then we had the San Antonio Spurs, and immediately we saw a great connection with De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama. They really got Fox for cheap. They gave up Zach Collins and Trey Jones, and in exchange they brought him in and Jordan McLaughlin, and maybe can play a couple bench minutes at that point guard position. I really like Fox, and I think he brings a lot to the table. He has been assisting at a rate that he wasn't previously. Obviously, that happens when you play with a guy like Wembanyama. They, have only gone 2-2 since acquiring him, which doesn't jump off the page, but as a team that's under 500 this season, that is an improvement. Granted, there will be time to adjust needed, and that's acceptable, and this isn't a move for just this year. This is a move for the foreseeable future. De'Aaron Fox wants to be in San Antonio, and, they also are not playing with Coach Popovich. I'm not quite certain when he will return, if he'll come back this season, if he'll ever come back. He suffered a stroke earlier in the year. We're not quite certain what his status will be, but if he does come back, I think that the Spurs are going to be very, very good, and I think they could make a title push if they really get a third star in a couple seasons. A couple other things, they still have tradable assets. They don't have good picks for that much longer if they project to be a great team, and, they have Atlanta's first-round picks in 2025 and 2027. For me, that was the most important thing, and that's why I believe they're the winners, because they held on to 2 extremely valuable picks from Atlanta in the eyes of other GMs. I feel like this year, that Atlanta pick is going to be in the top 8 because the way it stands currently, the Hawks have been on a real skid after losing Jalen Johnson, and at the trade deadline we saw them trade Bogdan Bogdanovic as well as DeAndre Hunter to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who we'll be talking about next, I think that, the Hawks are just kind of packing it in this season, and I'm not quite sure what, you know, that 2027 pick, I'm not sure what it's going to look like, and I don't think other GMs know what it's going to look like, making that pick extremely valuable for the Spurs to have as a team that now doesn't have first-round picks in 2025 and 27. I think this team is well set up, and they now have the two end positions. You have your guard, you have your center. Now you can build around them for the foreseeable future. I also really like Stephon Castle, and I think he can be a great two-guard, as well as Chris Paul. I think they should move him to a bench role because I think that would help him play longer in the NBA, and, I think he'd still have the same effect in more limited minutes. I digress. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they now kind of have a big five situation going on, and their rotation is signed long-term. As you can see, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, DeAndre Hunter, Jarrett Allen, and Evan Mobley are all signed until the 2028 season, and, Hunter is the only one that's not signed through the 2029 season. They also have Max Strus signed through 2028, as well as Isaac Okoro. This Cavs team is here to stay. As we can see right here, just here, I have 7 players who are on long-term deals that stretch out 3+ years into the future. It's going to get scary for teams going up against Cleveland for the foreseeable future because they will maintain this roster, and age isn't really a factor at this point because if you look at the ages currently, Darius Garland is 25. So let's talk about 4 years from now. They're probably going to have a very similar core. Garland will be 29, Donovan Mitchell 32. He'll be the oldest one of this group. 32 isn't really that old, and I know that it's getting up there for a guard in the NBA, but I think he can really step into a late stage Dwayne Wade type, and not late stage where it was his second stint in Miami, late stage where it was kind of the tail end of that Heatles run. I think Donovan Mitchell, as he gets older, can tap into maybe a better version of that. I know that Mitchell isn't exactly the defender that Wade was, but as an offensive engine, I think he's still extremely effective, and I think he definitely does still have 5+ good years left in him. He'll be 32, Hunter will be 31, Allen 30, Strus 32, Mobley 27, which I think is the most interesting piece because I'm very intrigued to see how Evan Mobley really fares going forward as a player. I think that he's been one of the front runners for most improved player. He's really impressed me with his new system and shooting threes now at a higher rate. He's obviously one of the best defenders in the NBA. Then you also have Isaac Okoro at 28. This is a team who is going to have guys pushing 30 but not 30 yet, and I really like the future of this team, and I think in getting DeAndre Hunter, who is under contract for 3 seasons, this is extremely, extremely, extremely important for Cleveland's long-term success, and I really like what they did here, and I think they are one of the winners of the trade deadline because they're now pushing some chips in the middle and saying, alright, let's go for it now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. As I said, comment down below one trade that you really liked from this year's trade deadline. I know that the Hunter one was one of my favorites. I'm going to be trying to post a video every other day or every 3 days, so stay tuned. We're entering a kind of duller stage in terms of transactions, and that's what this channel really focuses on. So be sure to stay tuned. I'll have videos coming up, and I've just started a massive project I can't wait to share with you guys, but it's going to be a couple months before that gets underway. So thank you, and I'll see you very soon.